Greetings viewers, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the final assembly of the Ford Fairmont. This will be episode 7 in this part of the series. Now originally I posted a bunch of videos about the Fairmont that were kind of all over the place. They weren't necessarily episodic, but from here on out they're going to be episodic, and this would be episode 7. And in this episode I cover the installation of my fuel pressure regulator, which doesn't seem that exciting, but it's one of those kind of little things that you have to do in order to, make a car like this work. You have to design your fuel system, you have to come up with ideas on where you're going to mount things like fuel pressure regulators, and in this case I have to fabricate brackets and things. So that's part of what's happening in this video, but what I'm really excited about was the installation of the power steering cooler, which I thought, I really like how it turned out. So you let me know in the comments what you think about the power steering cooler installation that I do in this video. Another thing I install is the fuel pressure gauge on my carburetor, and the reason I'm mentioning this is I just posted a video about some of the issues I had with that gauge, so you might want to check that out if you're thinking about installing a liquid-filled fuel pressure gauge on your engine. Anyway, one more thing. There is a video that contains about 15 minutes of additional footage in the original introduction from way back when I originally shot this video, available to premium members of my website. So there's more fabrication, more stuff available. That will be linked down in the description. But I've talked enough. Let's get to the action already in progress. Take it away, Eric. I was looking at this last night, and I kind of wanted to wait until I got this into place so I could tell, what kind of space I was working with. Looking at this, I think I'm going to mount the ignition coil over here. It's closer to the ignition coil, the distributor there. And I don't want to have the fuel pressure regulator mounted in the same place. This is my boost regulated fuel pressure regulator. That's what this port here is for. This is for a gauge, but I think I'm going to move the gauge over to the fuel line so I can actually read it. There's a little plug right there. So I'm going to take that plug and transfer it over to this, and then put my fuel pressure gauge in there so that I can read it. And then I'm going to run a line from here, and I believe I'm going to put the fuel pressure regulator right here. I think that's a good place for it because the fuel line can come up right through there, and it follows the regulations to where it's not on the firewall or in any danger of any shrapnel hitting it. But there's no way I can't not put the fuel line through there. So the fuel line is going to go under the master, come up through here. Oops, sorry. But this is sticking out kind of far. This bracket I thought was plastic. It's actually metal. I almost think it's aluminum. Anyway, what I've done is I have purchased some steel that I can use for a bracket. I can either use this heavy stuff or this light stuff and use that to mount this fuel pressure regulator. And then afterwards, like I said, I'm going to run a fuel line over to here. And what I've done to that end is, this is a piece of fuel line that I bought to go into the carburetor from the fuel pressure regulator, and it just happens to be the right length. I have the tools to install these ends, and I've removed one of them already. I wanted to see if removal was just as easy, and you can. So I removed this. Here's my removal tools right here, which I'll also use to install them. But the deal is that this line can come off the fuel pressure regulator here and then connect. There's the fuel line connection right there. And this seems to be long enough. Honestly, I may start with this just because it might be easier to do it this way. I just went crazy with it. Now, these are actually all the fittings that I bought for the fuel system. And I've got some special fittings here that are going to go into here. And I think I'm just going to set this thing up and get it ready to hook everything up to while I'm at it. Well, I needed some special tools. These fittings are aluminum, so they have special aluminum tools. And this is plastic when you handle them, because if not, as we've seen in the past, aluminum is very fragile. There's also some more tools that help with assembly of these hoses. But I've got a 90-degree fitting here, which the plan is to install this on this end of the hose so that when I hook up there, it hooks in like that. So this one can be a straight one coming off. As you can see, there's several ports. So coming in, this bottom port is where it comes in, so I needed this special adapter. This one goes to, what is that, -10. And what's coming out here on the sides are -6, but this is -8 fuel line, and so are these fittings. So this is an adapter for that, and this is a plug for one side, since I'm only going to be coming out one side. So I'll plug this side, I'll plug this, The fuel will come out here and it will come in here. I just figure while I'm at it, I'll install this as well. This is that fuel pressure gauge I talked about. It's liquid filled. I figured while I'm here, this was the old system. I'm now going to be running this line throughout. This stuff's good to about 1500 psi. So this could be for fuel injection or carburation if I ever decide to switch to fuel injection someday for whatever reason. Before I get into all this, I'm going to work out the mount, because that will locate it, and start by taking it off the fuel pressure regulator, because I don't want to hurt that guy. You know, honestly, I think what I'll do is I'll make the L bracket first and then figure out how to fit it to this. I guess I'll figure out roughly where I want it to bend. I'm going to mark it on here, and we'll bend it and then we'll cut it, because we'll have more leverage with all this metal on here, and try to bend it there. Now that I'm thinking about it, let's bend it long, and if we need to cut it down or shave it down, we can. That bent right in, right at the angle that I wanted it to. Really like having this anvil up here. This can go onto here like this, and all of that can go away. Then we can drill holes in here, attach to here, drill a hole in here, attach to there. Well, we gotta drill a hole over there too. Aluminum is so unforgiving, or as some of you say, aluminium. Now I need to decide how I'm gonna fasten this to this. I can go with these smaller fasteners and do 2 of them side by side, or I can take this larger fastener and do that right in the middle. I've decided to go with these. A little bit of slag on the top here. I'm just gonna wire wheel that. See, it's all better now. I actually think I cut that straight, or something close to it. Might as well see if this goes together. Half my morning spent making this, but look, there's no interference with the other fasteners, so I can put this on here now. Yeah. Fuel pressure regulator with bracket. I need to figure out where to locate it, where to drill this hole, and drill those holes. Hood clearance doesn't look like it'll be an issue. However, really should check that, because that's coming right down on top of it. I took an end off of this already, so it's a little jacked up. So I'm going to cut that end off. Now I've got the hose here in the vise. I'm going to blow it out from the opposite end. Make sure nothing got in there. And now you need to take my tool, which you take this end off. You just unscrew it. I unscrewed this earlier. Then this goes inside the tool like this. This particular tool has spacers, so if this moves around too much, but this is actually fitting about perfectly. Small finger full of grease. I just want to put a little bit of lubrication on the inside of this. That's down in there far enough. So we will now insert the tool, or insert the hose into the tool, like that. Add a little bit of lubricant to these threads. I think you can also use like 3-in-1 for this. Now you stay out from under those threads. I forgot to mark it. Darn it. You really should mark the back side of the hose, like in here, like mark where it is, so you can tell if this pushed down at all. I suppose it's still not too late. Marking this here means we'll know if this guy moved. I didn't move at all. Now let's go check this on the car. Let's see how this looks. Starting to get a little outside the boxy here. This feels good. So this is straight shot over the master cylinder, sort of almost like a rainbow. It misses the hood entirely, so that's not going to be a problem. And I believe at this angle, I'm not really keen on mounting this way. At an angle, I'd rather have it mounted straight up and down, but really, I don't think it matters. So now I'll try the other end. Run it down through like I wanted to initially. And that'll be fine. In fact, that is ideal. Just have to keep it away from the steering. That's not going to be a problem. A little clamp down there. So I'll drill a hole through this bracket, and then I'll also drill a hole in there. These are the fasteners I'm going to use. They're self-tapping, so I don't have to tap the sheet metal on the car. I do want to do 2 fasteners because for the same reason I did 2 fasteners here, if I just did one, it could sort of go back and forth, and I want to keep it secure. Run over the wire wheel and clean this up. Then take it over the car and mark the holes I need to drill there. This is probably going to be a job for my angle drill. Even with this, it's tough. Let's check to see if the bracket will go on. That's secure. So let's get this off of here. Put the 2 brackets back together so we can paint them. Now go to lunch, or we can go to lunch. I don't know when you're watching this, but if you're hungry and it's lunchtime, what sounds good for lunch? That looks like we worked on this. I'm using that same primer paint that I've been using. We'll let that set up, come back from lunch, throw another coat on the other side, and that'll be that. Back from lunch, here's our bracket that we spent a good part of the morning making. Before I install the fuel pressure regulator, I want to take care of this gauge. This is the fuel log. I took this off the carburetor. Now I can use the thread sealant. There we go. I was like, no, it's not going in. That looks good. I'm gonna go put this back on the car. The reason I wanted to put this on now is because this is where the fuel line hooks up. So sexy. I think I'll start with a plug. It is better to put the fuel pressure regulator, or the gauge, on the fuel pressure regulator itself, but I'm not going to be able to see it in its location. So I've opted for the location that I have. These are O-rings. Never like to install O-rings dry, so you gotta be kidding me. I'm gonna get one of those adjustable AN wrenches. This is just unacceptable. This is a special adapter plug I had to get for this. This is a -10 going down to -8. It's again a little bit of silicone. And lastly, we have a plug. The plug. Ah! Ah! I didn't even see that. You didn't say anything. Sealer everywhere. Thought I was going to do a nice clean install. And what happens? I get sealer everywhere. Yeah, when there's an O-ring, you don't need to worry about, God, really? You don't need to worry about sealer because there's an O-ring. Let's get this on the car. I'm gonna go get my ratchet wrench. It seems appropriate here. It did seem appropriate here. I'm not doing a very good job of ratcheting ratchet wrench.
take the opportunity to angle it a little better. Now that it's mounted securely, I know exactly where we can put this hose. That, I have to say, I can get that on and off. That is awesome. I'm proud of that. Right? So now all we need to do is connect it to the tank when the tank is here. So what do we do next? I think it's time to take a moment, clean off the bench. Then I'm going to install the fittings on the fuel filter and fuel pump. These 3/8 NPT to -8. Ew, that's gross fuel. Look at that. I guess we got to drain this filter out. Oh, this is rank smelling stuff. These actually work on here. They don't work on the new ones though. Uh-oh. I just realized something. The fittings in here are different. So I can do the fuel pump, but not the fuel filter today because these are not the same. Well, it's good to find that out today, right? I'm supposed to be picking up my fuel tank at the end of this week. I'm also not going to use this ground because that would be the perfect thing to use on a kill switch. If you interrupt the ground, you can use this as a kill switch so the fuel pump would never turn on. I was also going to do the same with the ignition. So I was going to take the ground for the ignition module and the ground for the fuel pump, run them through a switch, because ground side switched, make it so that that would be my kill switch. So I would be turning off the fuel pump and the ignition. So my own makeshift immobilizer. I don't know why I'm capping that off. I'm just going to open it up again. And these are tapered threads, so these are not going to require an O-ring like the other one did. Still want to get an adjustable wrench for these. I need 2 more of the larger size to do the fuel filter. While we wait for that to happen, I say we plug those holes. There. Don't leak bad. And because I'm awesome, well, actually, Shane Craig is awesome because he sent me these things here. He's a diesel tech up in Alaska, and they're very conscious about environmental problems and such. Look at that. In fact, I'm going to go throw one of those on the fuel pressure regulator on the car real quick. Yeah, you remember that -8 that was coming in there that was just open? Not anymore, it's not. Otherwise, let's see if I got a teeny tiny one for the vacuum port. Just to be funny. Didn't think I had one, did you? Take that. All right, what size is this? 5/8. So it's a 5/8 NPT to -8 is what I'm gonna need for that. What next? It's because I'm thinking I wanna finish up the power steering system, which requires this power steering cooler. I mean, I've only got so much length on that power steering line, although I could make a longer one, I suppose. But there's no place for this thing to really go in and just work as a power steering cooler. At least I'm not seeing it. So what I'm thinking is I'll come up from the underside, like from under here, and see if I can mount it somewhere around that oil filter. I also want to do something about this power steering line so it's not touching the oil filter, and also keep it away from that part of the stabilizer bar. Ah, yes, that stabilizer bar. I remember that. It's so much fun. Here's that power steering line I spoke about. We don't want it down on the exhaust. And also, I'm going to take the piece of turbo tubing, pop that up in here. The wheel is spinning in here. No. I mean, sorta. But gosh darn it, if that doesn't look awesome there, and there's already a bolt hole here, have that one come in like that. Yeah, it sticks down too far. Ah, now that There's some cool stealth stuff there. And I don't mind it. I kind of don't. I kind of like it like that. That's kind of badass. I like it there. Let me show you. This is what I did. Put it up and above. So it's still the full power steering cooler. The lines come down over here. It's in a spot where it's gonna cool. Yeah, it's up in this fender, but there's gonna be air rushing past it. Gets it out of the engine compartment, so it's not gonna take any engine compartment heat. I like that a lot. Like right there, like that. And maybe I'll be able to utilize that bolt to hold a bracket down. I'm gonna think on this for a minute and I'll be back. Had a moment to think on this. I don't really like the idea of using this bolt. What I wanna try and do is I wanna make a bracket that attaches to the body up here that goes over both of these. And then I can just drill through that piece there. To accomplish that, I think I'll take one of these, got a few of them, and pretty much reshape this so that it's got 2 humps in it and maybe just fastens in the middle. I'm gonna start by flattening this piece out just to see how long it is. I really need this sticker. These are what I use to hold the pipes, the air pipes to the wall. Will there be enough to do what I want to do? Because I can always bring this together more. I don't have to have it all spread apart like this. I can have it come in more. So now the trick is to find something that's roughly this diameter that's solid. That way I can hammer around it and shape this so that it'll hold this on here. Didn't have to look far. It's roughly the same diameter. It's perfect. So I can use this to shape around. These are what I call my Wile E. Coyote moments. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. And I still got the hole for the fastener that I don't even have to drill. That just saved me a whole lot of time. It's just so cool to like see something in your head and then make it happen. That's honestly what I love about doing this. It's the challenge or overcoming that challenge. Now some days I freaking hate it. Other days, like today, like this is pretty awesome. I think all I'm gonna have to do is drill a hole in the center of this and put a third fastener in, and that will solve all the problems. The only other thing I want to do, come to think of it, all right, I'm gonna have to reshape that a little bit, but here you go. Because you were probably thinking the same thing I was. Metal on metal can chafe over time. This slides up on here, nice. Just gonna cut a couple of lengths that are suitable. We need to make them a little bigger. Like I said, I'm gonna drill a hole through the middle so we can attach another fastener, find suitable fasteners. We'll get it fastened up in there, route and cut the hose, done. For something like this, I would rather have all 3 of the same fastener, but it looks like I'll be using these. Well, that's going to be in the way of the oil filter, but there's just no getting around that. If I'm not careful, I'm going to build a rattle right into this. I have to find a way to push this up and over. Once it's in, get it away from that fender. Or I got an idea. A piece of this same rubber hose, slide it up onto here in the spot where it could hit the fender, so that if it does hit the fender, it's hitting rubber. Ta-da! I'm gonna go cut me another piece to go on here. No more rattle. That is going nowhere. And even if it does hit that fender, it's not gonna rattle. Witness me. See, I've got that little piece of hose there that I'm using. It was hitting the fender, it's not anymore. Now all I need to do is connect up these here lines. Like I said, it's gonna suck changing the oil, but I don't really feel like I have a choice. Our other line will come off the bottom of the power steering pump. I am so happy with that. That was something I was kind of losing sleep over. Not no more. Here be a closer view. Once again, changing oil will suck, because I'm gonna have to like push these lines out of the way. So right from there to there, up and around, high pressure line, all done. Now there is one more thing I want to do. I want to position that other high pressure line so that it's not making contact with the oil filter anymore, and so that it's somewhat secure. What I'm talking about doing is just clamping it just like that. That's right, you guessed it, another one of these. I think I can shorten it up a little bit. I took my caliper and measured the outside of that piece there. And now I'm on the hunt for a socket, impact socket, that's roughly the same thickness. Here's the closest one I could find. It's a little smaller. Let's see how that fits. I took this pair of long needle nose pliers, came in behind it like that and squeezed it to get it to wrap around a little better. I'm not concerned about it contacting this metal part, but I do want to sort of angle it this way. I think I'm going to mark both with the scribe and with a marker. Going with different fasteners this time instead of the pointy ones. I'm going to go with these, because this will go up into here, and there will likely be this washer tube and wiring harness there as well. And if I have sharp pointy screws sticking out here, there's a chance that that could damage that wiring. So this time I'm going with a different size screw. As you can see, space is very, very limited. Something tells me that I might want to consider moving that power steering pump just to get these holes drilled. I don't want to take it off completely, I just want to move it for now. That helped a lot. Aluminum is so unforgiving. You breathe on it wrong, it gets not shiny. Let me see what I can do to reposition everything down underneath now that everything up here is set. Here's a close-up look. It feels closer to completion, that's for sure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe gave you some ideas on how to mount your own fuel pressure regulators or power steering coolers, or, well, who knows. I just hope you were generally entertained by watching this video. As I said, it's these little things that add up to eat up a lot of your time when you build a car like this, and you never really account for that. You never really account for the expense or the time it's going to take you to try to figure this stuff out. But take that time, figure it out correctly, and, well, it'll work out better in the end. But you'll probably have to change it somewhere along the line. In fact, the fuel pressure regulator you just saw me install is not the last. In fact, it was the first of 3 or 4. That being said, I hope the information in this video was fun, entertaining, all that kind of thing. I'll put links in the description to additional videos in this series and other videos that pertain to this kind of thing that I hope can help you, including that one about fuel pressure gauges. If you have automotive questions not covered in this video, I ask that you visit EricTheCarGuy.com. That will be linked down in the description along with other stuff. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do those things that help me make a living. I super appreciate that. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.